Decoded.
Welcome back to Book Decoded, fellow bookworm.
Ah, yes.
Are you ready to unlock some serious reading superpowers?
Always.
Today we're cracking open a classic that can transform how we absorb and engage with knowledge. How to Read a Book by Mortimer J. Adler and Charles Van Doren. Get those highlighters ready.
It's amazing how this book, published way back in 1972, still holds up today.
Yeah.
It's like they had a time machine.
I know, right?
And saw our current information overload coming.
Right. I mean, think about it. We're bombarded with articles, social media posts, videos. It's easy to get lost in a sea of information.
Yeah.
But Adler and Van Doren give us a lifeline, a way to navigate that sea and actually extract valuable insights from what we read.
And they do that by introducing the concept of 4 levels of reading, each building on the last, taking you from basic word recognition to a deep, almost conversational relationship with the author.
Okay.
Yeah.
So level 1, elementary reading. This is where we all start. Learning the ABCs, sounding out words, understanding the literal meaning of a sentence. It's the foundation.
But let's be honest, most of us listening have moved past that.
Okay.
We're not just decoding words anymore. We're looking for deeper meaning.
Right.
And that's where inspectional reading comes in.
So this is more than just reading for pleasure, right?
It can be.
Okay.
It's about being a discerning reader.
Okay.
Think of it like browsing a bookstore. You don't just grab the first book you see.
Right.
You check the title, skim the back cover, maybe read a random paragraph to get a feel for the author's style.
Okay.
Inspectional reading is about applying that same strategic approach to all your reading.
Okay.
Figuring out if a book is worth your precious time and energy.
You know, I used to think skimming was cheating.
Oh.
Like I wasn't really reading.
Yeah.
But now I realize it's a valuable skill. It's about being efficient with our reading, choosing the books that deserve a deeper dive.
And that brings us to the heart of the book, the level where things get really exciting, analytical reading. This is where we stop being passive consumers of information and become active participants in a conversation with the author.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give us the rundown on how to become an analytical reader.
Think of it as upgrading your reading from a leisurely stroll to a challenging hike.
Okay.
You're not just following the path anymore. You're exploring the terrain, noticing the details, asking questions along the way.
So instead of just reading words on a page, we're engaging with the author's ideas, their arguments, their worldview.
Precisely.
Okay.
Analytical reading is about asking questions like, what's the author's main point?
Right.
How do they support their arguments? Are they convincing? Do I agree or disagree?
Okay.
It's about dissecting the text, understanding the author's intent, and formulating your own informed opinion.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I bet that level of engagement leads to a much richer reading experience, right?
Absolutely. You're not just passively absorbing information, you're actively processing it, making connections, and ultimately learning more deeply.
Okay, so we've gone from elementary writing to skimming strategically with inspectional reading. And now we're having a full-blown dialogue with the author through analytical reading.
Right.
Sounds like quite a journey.
It is.
Yeah.
But there's one more level.
Yeah.
And this one might just blow your mind.
Okay.
Syntopical reading.
Syntopical reading.
Yeah.
That sounds intense.
It can be.
Is this for, like, PhD students writing dissertations?
But think of syntopical reading like building a 3D model of an idea.
Right.
You wouldn't just look at one photo, right? You want to see it from all angles.
Mm-hmm.
Syntopical reading is about looking at a topic from multiple perspectives by reading several books, articles, even opposing viewpoints to get a complete picture.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So instead of getting stuck in one author's echo chamber, you're expanding your understanding by considering different arguments, different interpretations, like crowdsourcing your knowledge.
Exactly. And here's the fascinating part. The book gives us concrete examples of how these levels of reading apply to different types of texts.
Okay.
Remember those specific examples from the outline?
Oh, right. Like the Declaration of Independence. It's such a famous document, but I'll admit, I've never really sat down and analyzed it word by word.
That's where analytical reading can unlock a whole new level of understanding. Adler and Van Doren point out that certain texts, like the Declaration, are so densely packed with meaning that they demand a slow, careful reading.
Okay.
It's not something you can just skim and grasp the full weight of.
You're right. It's like those iconic lines. We hold these truths to be self-evident. It's easy to just breeze over them.
Right.
But if you stop and really unpack each word, each phrase, you discover so much more depth.
And another example they use is Given's The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire.
Oh.
Even the title itself, if you apply inspectional reading, gives you clues about the content of each chapter. You can anticipate the themes, the arguments, even before diving in.
Wow. I never thought about how a title can foreshadow the content like that.
Right.
That's going to change how I approach book titles from now on. It's like a little treasure hunt.
It is. And speaking of structure, the authors point to St. Thomas Aquinas' Summa Theologica as a model of clear exposition.
Okay.
It's a complex philosophical work.
Right.
But Aquinas uses clear cues, like I answer that, to highlight key arguments, making it easier for the reader to follow his train of thought.
So it's like the author is holding your hand, guiding you through the complexities of their ideas.
Right.
I wish more authors did that.
Right. It's about clarity and accessibility. But the authors also emphasize that true understanding goes beyond just recognizing words on a page.
Right.
They say a reader should be able to restate a proposition in their own words, proving they've internalized the concept, not just memorized the phrasing.
That reminds me of school, when teachers would always tell us to explain things in our own words to prove we understood. It's not about parroting back information. It's about making it your own.
And here's where How to Read a Book gets even more interesting. It doesn't shy away from pointing out that even the most brilliant works have limitations.
Okay, now I'm really curious. Give us an example.
Well, they use Darwin's The Origin of Species, which, as you know, was groundbreaking. But Darwin didn't have knowledge of genetics, specifically Mendel's work, which came later.
Right.
This missing piece actually reveals a flaw in Darwin's theory.
So even while analyzing a book and appreciating its brilliance, we should also be aware of its limitations, its blind spots.
Yeah.
That's a crucial aspect of critical thinking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that knowledge is always evolving.
Right.
And even the most influential works can be refined and reinterpreted in light of new discoveries.
That's a humbling thought, but also empowering.
Yeah.
It means there's always more to learn, always new perspectives to consider.
Right.
It makes reading a lifelong journey of discovery.
Exactly.
But with all these different levels of reading, especially the more demanding ones,
right,
it can feel a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
What's the takeaway for the average person who's not a scholar or researcher? Why should we care about all this?
The book's message is that great books challenge us to grow as readers.
Okay.
As our knowledge expands, we can revisit them and gain even deeper understanding. It's about finding books that grow with you, becoming companions on your intellectual journey.
So it's not just about finishing a book and moving on, but about building a relationship with it, returning to it as we evolve. That's beautiful.
And the authors leave us with a thought-provoking question.
Okay.
What book would you take to a desert island, knowing it's the only one you'll ever read again?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about the books that have truly shaped you, the ones you'd want to keep revisiting for a lifetime. It really does make you think about the power of a great book to stay with you.
Yeah.
And speaking of power, this whole conversation has got me fired up to level up my own reading game. What are some practical tips for becoming a more active and engaged reader?
Well, the book offers several techniques, including taking notes as you read, summarizing key arguments in your own words, and most importantly, asking those key questions. Remember the 4 we discussed earlier?
I think so.
What is the book about as a whole? What are its parts? How are the parts related to the whole? And what problems is the author trying to solve? Keeping those in mind can really transform a passive read into an active exploration.
Those questions are so simple, yet so powerful. I can see how consistently applying them would force you to engage with the text on a deeper level.
Yeah.
Like having a mental checklist for understanding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And beyond the techniques, it's about cultivating a mindset of curiosity and critical thinking. Don't just accept everything you read at face value. Question the author's assumptions, look for biases, consider alternative viewpoints. Remember, reading is a dialogue, not a monologue.
You know, I used to think that talking back to the author was disrespectful.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with classic works.
Right.
But now I see it as a sign of respect, of truly engaging with their ideas and forming my own informed opinion.
It's about recognizing that even the greatest thinkers were products of their time and their own limited perspectives, right. And that's where syntopical reading comes in. It's about acknowledging that no single book has all the answers.
Right.
To get a truly comprehensive understanding, you need to consider multiple perspectives, even those that challenge your own views.
So it's about embracing the complexity of knowledge, recognizing that there are often multiple valid interpretations.
Exactly.
It sounds challenging, but also incredibly rewarding.
It is.
Yeah.
And while syntopical reading might seem like a heavy lift, think of it as a long-term investment in your understanding.
Yeah.
You're building a mental framework, a web of interconnected ideas that will enrich your thinking on a topic far beyond any single book.
This whole conversation has been a real eye-opener. How to read a book isn't just about techniques. It's about cultivating a mindset.
Yes.
A lifelong approach to learning and engaging with the world of ideas.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It's a timeless guide to unlocking the full potential of reading and using it as a tool for personal growth and intellectual exploration.
Well said. This has been an amazing deep dive into how to read a book.
It has. It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you and our listeners.
And to all our listeners, we challenge you to put these ideas into practice.
Yeah.
Pick up a book, engage with it actively.
Yeah.
Ask questions, and don't be afraid to talk back to the author.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by what you discover. Until next time, happy reading.